real heroes. And I want to introduce the chairman of our board, who KCPQ Radio 1170, 6 to 9 in the morning, Mark Larson, to do some introductions. So thank you very, very much for coming, and we look forward to a wonderful evening.
Thank you, Jim. That's Jim Kedrick, our president and CEO, who makes things work here. How many of you are here for the first time in our museum? Awesome, welcome. Come back often. Those of you who've been here before know how this works. You love it. We love having you back. We just keep adding things all the time. If you haven't been to Ripley's, believe it or not yet, you'll be able to see Buzz on the moon in the eye of a needle in there. It's amazing, absolutely true. You're thinking it's believe it or not, and it's true. We also coordinate the flyovers. That's all. Yeah, he's getting small now, so that's good. We love these kind of events where we have legends who come here and share with us and meet you. Something that is just part of the gig here at the museum. We're about education, we're about inspiring next generations. As you find out from Buzz Aldrin, I mean, you know this, you saw him on Dancing with the Stars, or that Snoop Dogg. Snoop Dogg, he's Snoop Lion there in the video. Yeah, you go where there's whole new generations who go, what did you do before you were on Dancing with the Stars, right? Kind of like asking Paul McCartney, were you ever in a band before the Beatles? It's the same thing. So, as you know, you have the books. Buzz has his new book, Pushing the Mars, with Leonard David. And Leonard is a terrific space expert in his own right, veteran space journalist. He's been writing about the space industry for more than 5 decades. This book is published by National Geographic. I mean, this is heavy-duty stuff. And you've got one of the first copies tonight. And I will mention a little bit of housekeeping logistics. After we do a little address the crowd, a little bit of Q&A, and then right about 6 o'clock, a little bit after, we will head over to the area in the back where Francis French, our fine director of education, is taking photos for the Secret Service apparently right now. And we will at that point come up and tell you if your ticket says Group A, Group B, however we have those numbers, it'll all make sense to you, so there won't be a giant feeding frenzy because we don't want our stars to get hurt. Okay, so that'll be good. It's like the Beatles again, it comes back. So at any rate, thank you for coming. We appreciate you being here. Come back often. Lori Brown is here representing State Senator Joel Anderson with a special commendation from Senator Anderson's office, one of the good guys up in Sacramento, and believe me, we need good men and women in Sacramento. Lori is here, and you don't have to read all the whereases.
Thank you. It is such a pleasure to be here on behalf of Senator Joel Anderson. He is honored to present you with this award from the state of California. Edwin Buzz Aldrin, in special recognition of your unparalleled contributions to historic advancements of science and humanity and your unwavering service to the United States of America. From Senator Joel Anderson, this is from the state of California. Thank you.
Sacramento up to date on the latest court decisions. It was at least 20 years ago that the court declared me Buzz Aldrin, NMI, no middle initial. But I'm proud.
Take that back and edit that. That'll be good. All right, thank you. And it says Lifetime Achievement Award right there, and he's only halfway through his life. Thank you, Laurie. Told you a little bit about Leonard. You'll hear more, you'll learn more as you read this terrific book. And one thing that I just love, I love so much about Buzz Aldrin that not only being there on that first moon landing 44 years ago this July with Neil Armstrong and Mike Collins up in the command module. Any of us who were alive then remember 600 million people watched on television. That's staggering numbers, especially in those days with all that it meant to the world, not just the United States of America. But Buzz has never stopped having a vision, never stopped looking at what the next is. And I love the fact he does have a sense of humor and goes to places like those shows I mentioned before, or do music videos, what have you. We would not have gotten to the moon without Buzz Aldrin. He's known as Dr. Rendezvous with his MIT background. Learned a lot in his underwater training in terms of zero gravity environment, being able to we had to learn the hard way. The Russians, if you remember that time, the Soviets weren't exactly giving us briefings of what they learned with their spacewalks. So he made it happen. He helped keep our astronauts safe, including his team. You look at what he did with his Gemini program as well. You could just go to buzzaldrin.com and just stay there for the next few days and read it all right? Please welcome, along with author Leonard David, the one and only Buzz Aldrin.
Fancy meeting you here. It's a great pleasure being here. Is this mic working? I'm supposed to the back. Very good. Even a little I think that what we have put together, and I say we, my younger son participated in the threesome where we would gather at Leonard's house way on top of the mountains, trying to keep the fires away, of course, and we would work as to what we really wanted to get across. And we boiled it down to 8 chapters, which give a background that I think you need to know to begin to understand what my vision for space exploration is. And we begin to spell out in several places of this some organizations.
That's TV.
That's TV.
I was just told that's a TV mic. Talk into this one.
All right. That's much better. It refers to 2 very important organizations that I've been working on. One in particular was way back to the Gemini program when we were trying to figure out what should we do to simulate the kinds of missions that Apollo should carry out. You have an opportunity to do something today, and you should do what contributes to what you want to have accomplished tomorrow. And years went by, and then we had the second accident in the shuttle system, Columbia, and most people agreed that now it was time to see an ending to that up and down in low Earth orbit. Let's get what we can out of the space station and then move our emphasis back to exploration. And so most people agreed that what should happen is to finish the space station, retire the shuttle orbiter, build the spacecraft necessary to go back to the moon by 2020. Most of us agreed that was a good thing to do. And I certainly went along with that. I wouldn't want at that time, where we just have experience in low Earth orbit, to say, hey gang, let's go to Mars. Well, we all have known that having been to the moon, the next major objective should be something to do with further out than that. And just what that should be and how it should happen is something that I've given tremendous thought to since those early days, and since the definition of vision for space exploration to go back to the moon, I decided we needed something more than just exploration. We needed to, wherever we were going, to get the science out of it, to develop where we went, to find commercial applications, and if at all possible, all of these should contribute to to the national security. So let me illuminate again 5 things of national policy that need to be a part of what is being put forth as what we should do in the future. Exploration, robotic and human, science, development, commercial, and security. You got a question?
I got a question. Let's rein you back in though a little bit and talk about what I think everybody remembers here. Being in San Diego was great for me because I grew up here and was here watching you step on the moon. But, you know, I think when you look at all the things that have happened in the space program over the 40, 50 years now, it's the seminal moment of you on the lunar landscape looking back at Earth. I always wondered whether or not you felt alone. You got mission control screeching in your ear, you got fans going in your suit. I mean, was there a moment where you thought, everybody that I know is on that planet, but I'm by myself here? What was that like?
If I had been the only one up there, I really would have felt alone. But I knew I had one of the best test pilots that NASA could ever have selected in the second group, and he was the commander of the mission. Another member of the third group also had test pilot training, and he was the command module pilot, and he was the guy who was going to bring us back home. I felt pretty comfortable in not having to do all these things myself. I would do the best I could to help them out, be a team player, and encourage success everywhere I went. I was sort of the lunar module pilot, a specialist in what the lunar module capabilities were, so that I could help the commander execute his control. There was no kidding anybody that the co-pilot, called lunar module pilot, was going to fly that spacecraft and make a landing out of it. Nobody ever thought that. And if the commander had been disabled, we would have come back home again. I would not have been given the reason or given the opportunity to land. Not when you have a commander who's unable to. You're missing a very important part of that mission, so you come back home and let somebody else give it a try.
What about the idea here that in the book you talk, we had a pretty good session here and we talked about the what ifs of the mission. What if we had fallen and torn a suit? There wasn't much chance of survival. If the one ascent engine didn't ignite, or if the onboard computer had a glitch, and you went on with a number of ifs. I mean, was it an iffy mission from the word go?
Well, we had 2 big ifs that you just mentioned. We had a little glitch in the computer because it was trying to process too much information. It was trying to process the landing radar and put it into correcting the computer's knowledge of where we were. But I think the MIT guys failed to note that Dr. Rendezvous was going to be on this flight, and be damned if he was going to turn the rendezvous radar off. Because if we had to abort or abort stage, we got to find out where Mike Collins is and go chasing after him, because we're not going to get home. And they didn't really anticipate that would happen. I don't know why. These MIT guys went to MIT.
You're an MIT guy. Okay, let's. You touched on something here about the moon, and in the book we talk about seeing the moon in a different light today. I mean, you saw it as this magnificent desolation. That was the most 2 powerful words put together. sort of like a Bob Dylan metaphor or something. You know, just two words that don't normally go together.
No.
Yeah, but today, when you think about what the future of the moon should be, we're very clear in the book about should we send U.S. taxpayer-supported astronauts back to the lunar surface. How do you see the moon today?
Well, it certainly was still a magnificent achievement by humans occupying this Earth for hundreds, thousands of years, progressing further and further up the ladder of progress of transportation capabilities. And here we are, not just airplanes in the air, but we got rockets that take us out of the atmosphere. And we're going to take human beings up to that thing out there, and we're going to land on it. That is one magnificent achievement as a testimony to the progress of human beings. Not us, human beings, building the things that would enable us to get there. But then as I looked out to see what was in front of two human beings, it was the most desolate sight I could ever imagine. You can't create anything here on Earth as lifeless with no air. And yet you can see the horizon curving away from you. If there's a big rock out there, you can see it pretty clearly. And there's a black sky, so black, and yet you got the sunlight behind you. In a combination, you can't see any stars out there. It's just too bright. And the sun illuminates a plain gray surface. Little rolling hills where little pieces of fragments have added up over the thousands of years to be what we call a regolith, which is a churned up mixed collection of chunks of rock and dust that cover what geologists call bedrock underneath, and there may be 15, 20 feet of all of this churned up things that have impacted the moon over the millions of years. Very desolate.
Okay, but today, getting back to the moon and how it can be used, but you want to see some prototyping of a lunar base using robotic landers and set up a test bed to get us on the course for Mars. And I think, I can't quite see what's going on here with the screens. Yeah, let me make sure I know what I'm talking about. There's nothing on there. You've been watching that for like 20 minutes? Okay. Here we go. I want to get to one particular picture because you and Obama butted up on the Air Force One. Pretty impressive. How many people have flown in the Air Force One here? Okay, now this guy, you get on the plane and you go in and you, how much conversation time did you have with Obama trying to convince him to buy the book, maybe? I don't know what was going on. How was that ride? And then how did you feel about his presentation? You went down to Florida to make a major statement about the future of the space program.
Well, the time I spent talking to him on board Air Force One, it's real easy to answer that. I thought I would have a chance to maybe tell him a few things, but it didn't happen. But we landed, and then I heard a voice say, "Aldrin, we want you up by the front door." So I went up by the front door, and it swung open, and Mr. President and Buzz Aldrin were there waving to the crowd. That's what I was there for, to be with the president, to wave to the crowd. And then go down the steps for another tremendous photo opportunity. Then we walked around the crowd and again waved. And and then he began his speech. I learned afterward the reason that maybe there wasn't any chance for him to talk to me or the science advisor was because they were putting the final touches on his speech, where he talked about having been to the moon, and Buzz Aldrin is here along to witness, and that what should be done is to reach outward and eventually be in orbit around the moon before landing on the moon, but clearly the objective that we should focus our attention on was a human mission to an asteroid by 2025. And I thought to myself, he must have been looking over my shoulder, because that's one of the things that I proposed that we should do after setting up the moon so that we could begin to build the base on the moon. Then we should start testing the interplanetary spacecraft that was going to take astronauts to the moon of Mars. We already had an interplanetary craft that would go on the far side of the moon to a neutral place called Earth-Moon L2, 50,000 miles away from the moon, where it could look back and control robots in way less than a second time delay to have very tight control of what robots would do. And we were eventually going to do the same sort of thing at Mars. But before we could do that, we had to develop and test this interplanetary spacecraft. So that I want to tell people, well, okay, let's just go out, short ways, turn around and come back. That's kind of boring. But if there is something out there, why don't we go out and get there when it is there? Then we'll look at it, and then we'll come back. Now, we're not going to do a lot of science or examination how to get resources out of this asteroid. That's not why we're going there. We're going there to test the spacecraft several times. Maybe we can just fling by a comet. That's pretty interesting. You don't have to have people in it particularly. If you happen to be clever about it, you can have the upper stage crash into the comet as you go by. And what does that do for the binoculars back here? They see the comet tail and all of a sudden it goes burp. That's the kind of thing we want to do for the American people so they understand what it's we're doing. But it's a test of the spacecraft.
Yeah, you know, when you look around here in this museum, particularly the Mercury single-seater spacecraft, the other thing we highlight in the book a lot is the stepping stones, and this is what you're getting to, is that you need these stepping stones because the Mercury capsule led to the two-person Gemini, you flew in that, and then you have a three-person spacecraft. So that's one of the key elements of the book of how to do those stepping stones and test out people, mission control, astronaut skills, proficiency, and also get American citizens back in the groove about a forward-looking space program. I know we got a few little things I want to get to before, but you know, Mars is on the book cover, which is, I'm not going to say it's a misnomer, but we've got a lot of other stuff in there, including things like Virgin Galactic and some of the capabilities that Spaceship Two is going to provide for space tourists. That's a key element too. Everybody in this room at some point are their kids. One person over here already has a spacesuit, so I know they're ready to go. You know, for space tourism. You know, how important is that people can participate in space exploration themselves, be a space traveler?
Well, after the Apollo program that required initially very well-trained test pilots, and then they opened the door for some of us who maybe sometimes were smarter than test pilots. because we didn't have to go through test pilot training because we went to MIT instead. But we bring to the group a different aspect. We bring to them a particular technical knowledge. And in my case, we decided to go to the moon in 1961. And I was already studying rendezvous in space. And there was a little debate as to whether we should rendezvous in Earth orbit or in lunar orbit. And because of how many Saturn V's you would need, it was decided to rendezvous in lunar orbit because everything could be put on one Saturn V instead of the Earth orbit rendezvous with a very, very large lander designed somewhat by Dr. von Braun. You know he's a rocket man. He's not a spacecraft man. So we ended up not using his concept, but it came from somebody who could split up the mission into its desirable components. And then if you did it right, you only needed one Saturn V.
So we have to be creative in the future. We've got to be real sharp. We've got to put together some kind of program that has multiple parts to it and that we can keep making progress. Now, I think we want to get to Q&A, but I know one thing we brought is a little video clip. Just a few minutes, but one of the things we try to drive in the book is that younger people today are going to be the messengers of tomorrow. They're going to take the space program forward. But you make a special appeal to a lot of younger people. You try to bridge between worlds, bridge between generations. And let's try to roll that video clip. Can we do that? I don't know where to look. And how are we doing? Can we put that on?
All you need is the rocket experience.
I see you made up a dance. All you need is rocket experience. That was gangster.
I have only two passions, space exploration and hip-hop.
People think we named it after Marcus Garvey or Black Star Movement. Nah, it's named after Buzz, Dr. Rendezvous, because you know he had those orbital rendezvous techniques he developed at MIT.
You know, the person that had the biggest inspiration on everything I do as far as music and production and just everything has to be Buzz Aldrin. The best that ever did it.
I saw the first one. I know when we saw the guys get off that spaceship and the gravity, lack of gravity and everything else. And all of them was cool, but the one Buzz, my man Buzz, you know, the brother had a great groove on it.
The song, Whitey on the Moon, just got here. I can't pay no doctor bills for Whitey's on the moon.
Gil and I are cool now. I explained to him that we came in peace for all mankind, and he backed off.
People think of hip-hop and they think of beefs. Yeah, East Coast, West Coast beef, down south, up top beefs. But it doesn't compare to the beef between Earth walkers and moon walkers, which I think is way more dangerous.
I don't have any beef with the Earth walkers.
It was like, yo, Snoop, I'm thinking about doing this record to commemorate my 40th year anniversary walking on the moon.
Say, you know, Snoop, you gotta do a little more work on your left jab there, too.
I will do that.
I was shocked when Buzz hit me on Twitter and was like, yo, I'm working on this album. But, you know, he wanted to get more of like an underground feel, so he had to bring me in. You know, I had to do my thing, he record.
Well, it sure is fun twittering with you.
Oh, yeah, you know, I'm the Twitter king.
I tell a story about the time on the moon now. The sky was black even though the sun shined down. Moonwalking such a trip, it's so fine. When you're walking in the lunar dust.
I really admire the way Buzz takes chances. You know, like how he challenged the NASA space program, and even the track itself. Is there a word for something that you can't explain in words? Ineffable, I think that would be the word. Ineffable. That track is ineffable.
Imagine a place above the sky, riding orbits in 90 minutes time. All you need is to come with me. I'll be your guide.
Flying into curious, what do you think of this auto-tune trend in music nowadays?
Listen, that's still good. It's all played out. I don't want to have anything to do with that.
So no auto-tune in this song?
No, no, no. Okay.
All you need is the record experience.
Yeah, man, I think we need to tone the beat down just a little bit because we don't lose the message. It's too hard. What you need is a rocking experience. So when you're saying it, visualize yourself performing, put a little bit more attitude. Exactly, like I just learned this way. What you need is the rocking experience. What you need is a rocking experience. All you need is a rocking experience. All you need is a rocking experience. There it is. Take that. Take that. That's it. Take that.
Y'all gotta read this book. Buzz Aldrin is so gangster.
Now, Buzz, we need a remix of the song. I got you. To the high, to the sky, to the clouds, to the stars, to Mars. The stars can see. It's me, Dogg, to the moon, consume. Let the bass go boom. We can fly in a rocket. Got the smoke in a socket. You can put it in your pocket. Unlock it. I'm a rocket. It's Snoop, Dogg with Buzz. That's my cuz. I'ma show you what it is. Now you know what it was. It's the G-Links. Fly me to space.
Thanks.
It was a great pleasure educating those two. And just realize I helped make them famous.
Okay, we want to make sure that we sort of end on a you get involved, and this is one way to do it. He also has Twitter, and because he has a t-shirt already, so follow Buzz on Twitter. But the point is, we would like to now engage you in any kind of questions and answers.
All right, and I'm going to roll down into the audience here. We're going to do this pretty quickly here, so if you have a quick question, we'll get to a